Longhorn fans, welcome back to the 41st Acre. We are talking Texas versus Kentucky recap. Texas wins 31-14 at home, last home game of the year. Senior day, Justin was at the game. Looked like pretty good weather.
Oh yeah.
What a great weekend to be a Texas Longhorn fan. You're some of the rivals, some of the teams you're vying for playoff spots or SEC championship game spots. Take a big L. Big game coming next week. But looking back at the Kentucky game, again, Texas wins 31-14. Um, some struggles in the second half. Um, but a lot of good things. I thought the offensive line looked improved, protection wise, and then where they finished the game running the ball. Um, so hopefully that will continue. But Brett, let's go with your key takeaways and then roll into Justin.
Yeah, I mean, a win's a win at this point in time. One of the key, probably the biggest key win is you didn't look past this opponent. Looking forward to going to College Station next week, right? Which clearly some other teams in the SEC did that yesterday and last night. So I thought it was really good to make sure that Sark was focused on the day, get his team to appreciate the seniors, the fans to appreciate the seniors for one more night. Get ready for this game. Treat it like you're supposed to treat it, which is the next man up. And now, after putting Kentucky away, you can start looking forward to that next opponent.
I agree. No, they came out being in the stadium. I thought they came out. They looked pretty dang good. Yeah, the third quarter was the third quarter, but all things considered, I was really happy with the way the team looked. I didn't think Quinn looked his best, but he certainly didn't look as bad as what we've seen him in the season. Um, the senior day environment was awesome. They had another flyover, which may have been the loudest jet I've ever heard fly over DKR. Um, but the fans were into it. They loved, showing all the love to the seniors. The seniors balled out. A lot of them did. One of the coolest things, obviously, it was a 2:30 game, so it went into, the evening, and that stadium just lights up. Right? Sorry if y'all can hear my dog. She's out here barking at me. Um, that stadium just lights up at night. The fourth quarter, the smoke, the lights, they did the show. I mean, everything is just the next level. It really is an environment just to sit back and enjoy. And we waited for almost the entire crowd to leave before we left last night. And I don't know, there's probably still a few thousand people in the stadium just looking around. You could just see them just taking it in because that more or less is going to be our last game till next season. We'll see what happens with the playoffs and stuff, right? And you can just see them all just like looking around and just loving it, right? And I think it was really cool just to kind of see that, man, people don't take this just as like, oh, it's a game. All right, let's go home. There are a lot of people who it's a lifestyle, right? A lot of the people who sit in the area we have tickets just stopped and he just turned on the way out and he just goes, man, I love this place. This place is awesome. And he had to drive back to Houston, but he's like, I don't care. Like, I want to make sure I sit here and enjoy this. So to see that from a lot of the crowd and just sitting there and giving all the love to the seniors as they're walking off was really cool. So all in all, 10 out of 10 for a senior day. You got the win, you sent them off correctly. Didn't look horrible doing it except for five fumbles. But I know we'll get into that.
Yeah, I think they greased that ball the second half for both teams.
Yeah.
Looking at some stats,
Gonna eat that popcorn.
yeah, Texas had 6 sacks, 2 interceptions. Trey Moore 1.5 sacks. And I thought he was in the right place at the right time. Especially when that new quarterback came in, the first play they tried some play action and then the was it Boley, he was looking for some, hit to the helmet and hey, welcome to the SEC backup Kentucky quarterback.
Yep.
Um, Anthony Hill led the team with 11 tackles, had 2 sacks. He was all over the place.
Mhm.
Um, he's my player of the game on defense.
I
The
will say
guys,
one thing real quick. Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
One of his sacks, I believe, that got put in his stat sheet was where the quarterback fell down, right? And he was just yeah.
Okay.
So we're
Well,
gonna
hey, because the quarterback fell down because he saw zero coming
yeah.
at him.
we
That's
thought
true.
as the crowd for how good we've been this season, we thought we deserved that one, that we scared him down. So
No, he totally did. Like he was
What, y'all hit him with a water bottle or something?
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
Snake him?
Sniper.
he was coming free, and I mean that was a smart play. Otherwise, it's turnover opportunity.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
But but yeah, those are some of the key stats we had. And then Justin noted this: Gunnar Helm, 5 catches, 51 yards, 2 early touchdowns. Were all those catches in the first half? And then let's get into the bad first. I'm flipping things up. Zero third quarter points.
He's all over the place.
Brett, what is going on with this? We do really good in the first half with the script, and then the third quarter comes around and we get a little goose egg.
Yeah. Uh, the third quarter's plaguing us right now. It's kind of inverted on itself. We kind of again, against the Georgia, it came out so slow, couldn't score in the entire first half, and then third quarter, we turned it around. Recently, it seems like we've been getting beat in the third quarter. Um, it's a little bit frustrating because you go into the half up 24-7. You have a chance to score a touchdown on that first drive, shut down their offense on their first drive to essentially put the game away, right? You get it 31-7. Um, at that point in time, you're just figuring out, okay, when is Arch going to come in, get some snaps? What are some of these young guys, Parker Livingstone, like those types of folks, going to get some play time, and when do we get to start watching them? Instead, you don't score any points. You allow up the touchdown. Now it's within a couple of possessions. The game is, and it just makes it a little bit more stressful. And maybe that stress is what's leading to sweaty fingers, which is why we're fumbling the ball. I don't know. But the turnovers in the third quarter, I mean, when you have a chance to put your opponent away and you start just giving them opportunities, you think about the Quinn fumble, the fumble pick six or whatever that ended up being. That's just the way you let your opponent back in the game. So not only are you not putting them away, but you're giving them opportunities on short fields or defensive touchdowns to make the game somewhat interesting. It never got close, and Texas did a good job putting them away in the fourth quarter. But it's not really what you want to see at this juncture of the season, right? You want to see your team sit there and just go ahead and close it out, and that's what good teams do. They close out bad teams. So make it interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you. That third quarter was interesting. And I know we've talked about this in the past, watching it on TV versus being there in person, it gives you a different perspective. Like we were not happy with the way things had gone, but until I went back and looked at the stats, I didn't realize because they don't show it right on the big screen, which I'm sure they do on TV. They go, Texas' last 3 or 4 possessions, punt, fumbled for a touchdown, missed field goal, right? They show you. So then you can actually like physically see again and you get reminded of this has been horrible, right? But going back and look on it, yeah, it wasn't a great third quarter. So I'm not sure what happened there if they went in and took some, sleep aids or something before they started the third quarter, but definitely didn't help. The defense did their thing, right? Yeah, they did let up. The defense didn't let up that fumble, but defense only let up 7 points all day, right? And then there was the fumble return for a touchdown. Defense was nonstop. They let up 7 points in the first quarter. Other than that, missed field goal for Kentucky as well. So third quarter was definitely not good. It hasn't been a strength the past handful of games. I don't think we've scored more than 7 points in any of the third quarters since Georgia, right? Um, at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, they closed it out, which was nice to see. Um, but the third quarter is something they certainly got to work on and stop freaking fumbling the ball. That was unbelievable. That was one thing I couldn't get over was how many times ball from both sides, how many times balls on the ground.
Yeah, I thought the first fumble by Blue, a little lucky the call on the field was a touchdown. I thought if the call on the field was a fumble, I thought that was one where there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it from what I could see. I'm surprised that the call stood as a touchdown. Um, but yeah, Blue, he did get some carries after that, after the second fumble, the one we actually lost. But Blue continues to struggle fumbling the ball. Quinn's, I think they ended up calling it a fumble recovery for a touchdown. It looked like it. more of an interception, but that ball was out of his hand and it went for. So, heads up play by that defensive player to catch that ball and run it in. But yeah, that ball was greased. It's always been greased for blue. Um, I think do we have a drop as well? But yeah, fumbles, Justin. We
Yeah.
we can't beat ourselves.
Let me ask you this. What did y'all feel about the, because this is definitely on the negative. How'd y'all feel about the refereeing penalties, that kind of stuff? I thought there was 3 or 4 missed calls in the first half from our view, but again, we don't get the replays like y'all do.
Um,
There was a
uh,
PI that happened like in the end zone or something, or down the field that didn't get called. I know that.
There were about three that I think they could have called, but they were overall they were kind of letting
they let
them
them play.
push on play on both sides. Like there was one play I remember where it was with uh number three. I'm forgetting names right now, but
Well, Aaron Gilba.
yeah. So they both had he and the offensive player kind of they both had one arm grabbing each other, and they didn't call it. So.
Yeah.
Looks like they were kind of just letting them play on the outside. Yeah, I think they could have easily called him against Kentucky there early, and I know Sark was looking for the call
What about
and
there was like a
chewing one
hold?
of those guys.
There was like a hold on Majors on like some run where it was a good chunk play, and Majors literally just pancake blocked the guy, but they called a hold on that. Do you remember that
Yeah,
play?
I remember that play. Yeah.
Yeah. I just felt like for
I,
the
I
first
would
half,
Justin, I
second.
would tell you from our perspective, it didn't feel like it swayed the game at all.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I
Been
wouldn't look
times, there's been
worse.
times where like you feel like the officials are like actually putting their stamp, their own personal stamp on the game. I didn't ever feel like that.
Okay. We
Uh,
did just in like the like middle of the first quarter to maybe the end of the second quarter or so, like just in the beginning part of the game, we felt like, man, where are all these ridiculous non-calls and calls? But if you look at it at the end of the day, there's only 6 penalties on Kentucky, 5 on us, both for about 40 yards. So it doesn't seem like it was a huge impact on the game.
Yeah,
so I still want to talk a little bit more about the third quarter. So third quarter, I mean, here's the sequence of events for Texas, right? Kentucky starts with the ball. They punt it down to the 6 yard line, and Silas Bolden fair catches the ball at the 6 yard line, right? Instead of
Yeah,
just giving it a chance, like rolling these back to the end zone.
so
He
stupid.
fair catches at the 6 yard line. So it puts you deep in your own territory. What do? We three and out, we punt. So now we give them the ball at the 45. We actually get a turnover on downs after that, and we start with the ball at our own 25, and immediately Jaden Blue fumbles. So we lose the possession there. So that's two bad plays by Texas, or just bonehead plays by Texas to put us in bad situation. At that point in time, Kentucky gets the ball and they try to kick a field goal and they miss. We get the ball back at our own 20-yard line. And
Yeah, that was after missed field goal for them, right?
yeah,
And then
then
we
we get the ball and
replays later.
that's when Quinn fumbles. So yeah, the order of things that just happened in that third quarter, it's all, I mean, mental errors, execution errors, it's all of that. Why does that have to like rear its head all in sequence like that? I don't know.
Missed field goal was also the next thing that happened there. That was our next possession in the
The
third quarter.
next possession, yeah.
that was a
So it's
straight
like
block.
okay, so Silas Bolton, don't call fair catch. You know when your heels are beyond the 10 yard line. Jaden Blue, hold on to the football. Quinn, don't eat popcorn before you take a snap. Uh, and then yeah, Bert Auburn, come on, quit missing field goals. I feel like he's missing way too many field goals this year. So that's your
Uh,
third quarter. That's your third quarter right there.
I think Bolden's lucky too. Like they normally throw a penalty if you call a fair catch and then start to run with it. Um,
It depends on
I,
your intent.
I've seen that before where you do a fair catch and then try to run and
Yeah.
it's I think there's a risk for injury or whatever. I think they call a penalty, but he definitely like he took off a little bit and then it was like, damn, I shouldn't have called a fair catch.
Right.
I
You
think
shouldn't even
he's
call it. You shouldn't
frustrated,
even
right?
go back. You don't go backwards if you're standing on the 10. Like that's coaching 1-on-1. You don't go backwards to catch a
Yeah.
punt. Um,
He's a wild card back there. I love watching him return the ball, but he's an absolute wild card.
Yeah, I mean it's if we're playing against UTSA and you want to do that, fine. But I don't know. This is not a smart thing to do against
Right.
a Kentucky team that hey is capable of beating good teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
Obviously not this weekend, but they've done it before. Um,
Can I say one quick thing? So, third quarter was bad, right? And we've had these lulls where we'll go on this streak, like what the Warriors do, where the Warriors used to go on like some crazy 30-5 run, right? And we can see Texas do that, and then they'll make it a game sometimes, or at that point the game's just over and it's just about running out the clock. Not in the past 4 games where we haven't looked great, since Georgia, right? Where we have our times where we don't look as good or whatever. Not one time have I felt like, oh, this team has the ball and can go down and beat us with this possession. It it sucks, but I've never lost that confidence because I trust that defense so much that I'm like, oh, this is it. This is where we fall apart, right? So that is at least a positive out of that negative. Is it as bad as our third quarter was? We still had, whatever, a 17-point lead, and then 10-point lead,
well,
after.
yeah, I think to your point, like we turn the ball over, and then I think we get a big sack or something. Like they're trying to do a shot play after a turnover. Motions. It's kind of football 101. You get a turnover, you try to go deep, and, and then
All right.
what happened? Did I freeze or did you freeze?
You froze a little bit.
Rose.
You're
You
good.
froze to me.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah. Jerk. The jerk store called. They're running out of you. Um, okay, real quick before we get into positives, is Quinn injured again? Like he looked, I
He's
think
hurt.
part of the third quarter was he looked like he could not, even in the first quarter, I'll be honest, he was a statue in the pocket. Offensive line was doing great. But that third quarter, um, maybe that fumble, whatever that phantom hit was, I think that could
No
have been
phantom hit.
avoided with
It
some.
was not a phantom hit.
Well, I'm just
He
saying that could have been avoided with
leveled
some
on.
mobility in the pocket. Like he like let that offensive lineman kind
Let's
of
let's talk
get
about that
pushed back
because
into him.
this is the order of the things that happened. So I thought Quinn looked as sharp as he's looked to start the game. He's
He was
dishing it out.
feathering the ball. Oof, I
Yeah,
loved it.
he had some beautiful passes. That touchdown to Gunnar Helm over the top was a great throw. And when Quinn's on the move, his accuracy gets better. He's the Sundance Kid, is what they're calling him. And I think he's kind of found Matthew Golden as like his go-to right now. Like you really trust Matthew Golden. I think he led the team in receptions and yards this past week. He tried to find him in the end zone a couple times. But he looked so good in that first half. He even looked good with his feet, and he was moving around, making some run plays, and he gets rolled up from behind after he converts a first down with his legs, going to the sideline. And at that point in time, he rolled his ankle. And once his pocket mobility was limited from that bum ankle, which he says it's okay, but still, he looked pretty gingerly getting on and off the field. Once his mobility was gone, he was a completely different Quinn.
Mhm.
Quinn's not fast, but he does rely on his legs to increase his accuracy, which is a weird thing to say. He does not like set feet. Um, he threw for 170 yards in the first half, right? And just throwing it all over the place. No interceptions, right? And then in the second half, he threw for 15 yards. Now, granted, different game plan. Also, we're losing possessions due to fumbles and things like that. But that's the difference in the first half and the second half after that injury. Well, I put that on my good is how good Quinn looked in that first half, and we have to get him healthy or else it's not. Yeah, he's just a shell of himself when he's injured. I mean,
Which
shell of
ankle
shit.
was it? They
I
got
don't know.
rolled up.
I don't know.
Okay. The What makes sense to me is it would be his right ankle, his plant ankle, right? So he just couldn't get that dexterity out of it. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be he'll get the right, therapy and all that, whatever he needs to get to hopefully be good for the A&M game. But yeah, he went from really sharp to not as not as sharp. Absolutely.
Now, he threw the ball 5 times in the second half. So
Right.
it's like you say 15 yards. Okay, well, it was 3 for 5. I mean, the game plan completely changed.
Yeah.
Probably due to his mobility, probably due to the score, also lack of possessions because of
It's short
feet,
possessions. Yeah.
right? So, it's a different game in the second half, but still, I mean, you could just tell how limited he was.
Right. I bet I'm looking it up real quick. I bet he didn't throw the ball one time in the fourth quarter. If I had to guess, right? Because we only had the possession. We only had
We ran the ball 15 straight possessions in the fourth quarter.
14. Yeah.
15 or not
Yeah.
possessions.
He was 0 for 1. He
15.
threw the ball one time. And then we
Yeah.
ran the ball 17 times in the fourth quarter,
Well,
which amazing.
one topic at a time, guys. Let's talk. Okay, we're back to the good Quinn now. Like you said, Justin, first half, the word is feathered throws. If you saw the replays on TV, throwing them over linebackers to, I think there was one to Bond even that was
That was
a great
terrifying.
throw.
Yeah.
Um, there were at least three of those. Um, getting those touch throws over that linebacker, that second level. Um, Whereas sometimes you see guys that, Hudson Card just throws a bullet flat, back in the day.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
combination of those feathered throws and timing too. Did you all see that third down conversion to Matthew Golden on the curl route? With
Yes, that was a dart. He threw it before he even came out of his break
Yeah,
on the
it was.
inside.
Yeah, Matthew Golden turned and the ball was here. Boom.
Yep.
I
And
mean,
that throw is
everything was
there.
close.
That throw is there against pretty much any college DB
Yeah,
every game. Like I don't, they've got to respect the speed, especially of the Texas receivers so much. Those guys can just run up there and then boom, turn back, and there's almost no stopping. I don't know why we don't call more of them, but
I
there's
love it. Yeah, I mean, when
one.
I saw Quinn making that throw, I was like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah. Can
20
we?
points.
And I don't want to detour off of good Quinn, bad Quinn, but I did want to talk about. I think this is probably on the bad. It's not really on the bad. Jahdae Barron, honestly, for the most part, didn't have a chance to really make any of his classic splash plays. McDonald had that unbelievable interception, though. That was fun. The one thing that I was worried about might get Jahdae at some point is double move, and that's that one that he got burned on a little bit. The guy had a great like stop and go, and Jade's so used to running the route for them that he did get
Well,
burned, but he learned his
he did,
lesson.
he tried to jump the
Exactly.
inside route, so he didn't get burned. He just made a bad decision.
Right. He was trying
Um,
to read that.
yeah,
Yep.
he tried to jump. There was two routes going, and he tried to jump this inside one.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, he guessed wrong. But he, at least it wasn't a touchdown. That could have been. If that was a better throw, he could have kept running, let him, and that could have been an easy touchdown. So
Right.
kind
And
of
all
kind of
his film
fortunate.
study tells him that throw is happening right here. I'm gonna go pick it and make a play.
Well, I
He
think that
50-50.
was that the second quarterback though. So I think some of that film is maybe the play calling film,
Right.
but tendencies wise, it's hard to know what happens when you get a backup in, which
Mhm.
is ask LSU. Um, but yeah, okay. Continuing on the good, Brett mentioned the 15 play, 8-minute drive. A little disappointed that we had to go for it on fourth down to get the touchdown. I was thinking though, no matter what happens, if we don't score, 15 plays, all runs, 85 yards in the SEC, um, like, hey, this is Kentucky. Welcome to Texas football.
Mhm.
We're gonna run it every play, and we don't care. You guys try to stop it, and they couldn't. It's still an SEC defensive line. So the offensive line, that drive, the first half, I think the pocket was pretty clean.
Mhm.
Um, you guys talk about the run game, offensive line, Brett. Do you think they've fixed their woes?
Yeah, for the most part, for whatever reason, the offensive line, as the season's gone on, has become more of a cohesive run unit. As games go on, they become more of a cohesive run unit, which is exactly what we saw last year against Alabama, right? I think Alabama, we had a very similar stat line when we were playing in Tuscaloosa of running the last, whatever, 7 minutes of the game away on run, design, run after design, run after design, run. And we saw it again this week. We saw it last week in Arkansas to close out the game, right?
Mhm.
When your offensive line is so gelled and you have decent running backs, and that's where I'm going to put our running backs at, is decent running back, above average running backs to get behind those big bodies, and they can just pave away, even when the defense knows what's coming. And you're going to do it 15 times in a row just to put your stamp on the game and close it out. So essentially, the game's on the line. When you can do that to other teams with capable defensive lines and linebackers, that's when you become an elite program because you can truly close those games out. So for all the third quarter woes, for you to be able to go into the fourth quarter, have that mentality. Kentucky knows you're going to do that, and be able to go execute just like you drew it up, play after play after play, and just end the game that way. That's when you can take your game to the next level. And you can close out big time opponents.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd love to see the run game be as effective as it was today, all game in most games, if not every game, right? That's not always going to happen. But they seem to be finding their way. And I've got the replay of the game on right now. And Wisner looked awesome. Like he had his kind of like jockeying back and forth, like real slow, patient runs. But then he had some where he just one cut, boom, and was up the field for 10 yards. I mean, he averaged over 6 yards a run. I think he ran for like 150 something himself. So it was fantastic to see that. I thought the run game was the best we've seen it all season, right? We ran for 250 against an actual opponent, right? Not talking about some of the cupcakes, pre-conference, right? So, regards to the good, Trey's a boss. I love watching him run. I had a lot of people behind me telling me, "Give Blue the ball, give Gibson the ball." I'm like, they can't hold on to the ball. Don't do that. Just let this kid do it. He's good, right?
Right.
Yeah, and we talked about, I really did enjoy watching Quinn have those feathered throws over the linebackers. He had one for the touchdown to Gunnar Helm, one to Bond. I think he had one or two more, like I mentioned, but also showed that he can whip the ball out on some of those deeper routes. So hopefully whatever's up with the lower body injury, we'll call it, it's not too serious and he'll be able to play his game against A&M. But all in all, besides the third quarter, I really thought this was a great game. I don't think anybody can say Texas didn't look good. They didn't look great, but they looked good. So I'm excited about how this momentum going into hopefully the next 5-6 games they have this season.
All right, finish up on the good. Brett, anything else you want to touch on? And then we'll get into players of the game, helmet stickers.
I mean, I can just roll straight into that because I mean that goes with the good. But the good is, I mean, ultimately the good is this: you didn't look past your opponent and you beat an SEC conference. You won another SEC conference game. You have 10 wins for the second time, 2 years in a row. I mean, these are things that we haven't achieved in over a decade, since Matt Brown was around. So, that's what you wanted out of your team, this week, is you wanted to go take care of business, not look forward to Texas A&M. Now you can start focusing on that. I guess my players of the game, I mean, Anthony Hill is just such a freak. Enjoy him while it lasts, because I mean, you only have him for about like 16 more games, and then he is gone. So appreciate everything that he is, and I think that this podcast kind of sways away from talking about him because it's such low hanging fruit. Like it's like, oh, let's not talk about Anthony Hill because we know he's going to have 25 tackles in the game. Let's talk about somebody else that might be under the radar a little bit. But he is an anomaly out there. He did not have any indication of a sophomore slump this year. He can play every single position from defensive line to linebacker, and he's fast as he can be. Trey Wisner, we've beaten up him today. I mean, he's a stud up running the ball. But Matthew Golden, I mentioned him a little bit earlier. He seems to be one of Quinn's trusted go-tos right now. Isaiah Bond has kind of moved out of that role, and of course he's got the lingering ankle injury. But Matthew Golden has been that guy that Quinn's been targeting in the red zone a lot of times and on key third down conversions. And Matthew Golden, for what he was at U of H, he has some sure hands and he can make some great catches. So yeah, got to send him a helmet sticker as well.
Amen. I love that. Now those are the Ant Hill and Wisner, Golden. I mean, Gunnar Helm, Trey Moore. I think that there are a lot of players who maybe you couldn't call quote unquote the player of the game, but certainly helmet sticker, like you were a group of players of the game, right? Makuba had that unbelievable interception and
Oh,
honestly played a really good game, right?
yeah, he
uh,
did.
McDonald had a great, I tell you what, his budding, he's a budding star at safety. I love what he's doing.
Yeah.
It just all around, there were a lot of really good showings. I called Trey Moore as one of my players to watch going into the game, so I'm going to call him out and give him a helmet stick for sure. Like we said, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss. I don't recall if he walked, but maybe we get him back next year.
I think based on what I've heard, he's coming back.
Okay, I'm looking at the walk list.
He gets better and better every single game.
That's huge. That's awesome. So I'm excited to have him. I know I was dogging on him earlier in the year, but maybe it just took him a little bit of time to find it. So I'm happy to see him.
Well, I think what you get with Trey Moore, and we won't linger on it, but the thing you get with Trey Moore is just very sound execution, right? He's not going to be a super flashy, like quick twitch guy off the line, beat past the offensive tackle. Like he's going to play his position. He's going to set that edge first, and they also have him playing that Sam linebacker role a lot on the team, where he lines up on the line, but then
Yep.
he backs up into coverage, which
Yep.
I think is a really interesting position. I saw Colin Simmons doing a little bit of that too. So we
Yep.
do that in some more of a base defense. But I mean, yeah, for what Trey Moore has been this year, he's blown up the stats. But yeah, happy to get that guy back.
I mean, he's the MVP of the defense the last 3 games, right?
Yeah,
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 it's been awesome. So
sound, just sound. I love sound.
very much so. Absolutely. Doing his job. So, and then Gunnar Helm, again, he's the guy that I just feel like it's my cheat code on offense because he's just so trustworthy. He's huge. Like he's probably earned himself a lot of money. I hope that he actually gets drafted and can do something in the pros because that dude is so much fun to watch. I hate that it's his senior year and he's leaving. Hopefully, we've got somebody that we don't know about coming through in the rankings who's actually going to get out there and perform. But watching him and the confidence that Quinn has in him, especially when, oh crap, I'm in trouble. They had that screen pass that went for like 17 yards with him. The 2 touchdowns, obviously, he just finds a spot and goes, I'm bigger than all these guys. Like when he pointed at the Kentucky defender after the second touchdown, he's like, just throw the ball. I'll catch it. I mean, much like he did in that Michigan game where he jumped up over 3 guys and brought it down. That's just what he does. So I'm excited for that relationship to continue growing and what we can do with it moving forward. But this is a heck of a game by him for sure.
Yeah, I think he's gone from, preseason undrafted tight end. I think he's worked his way into maybe
I
fourth, fifth, sixth round and the
I,
NFL draft.
I think he's going to go. I haven't looked at the finalists, but he might be a finalist for the Mackey Award. So
Yeah, I think again, if they're looking at all around tight ends, I think he should be. Sometimes, you worry, did they just give it to pass catching tight ends? So like, are these just glorified big body wide receivers? I mean, he does everything.
yeah,
And so yeah, hope you get a tight end like him on any team.
yeah.
Yeah. Have we had a running back rush for over 150 this year? I know we had a couple games with over 100, but I think that's as an individual rushing performance. I mean, Blue even had 96 yards. Um,
He's
right.
averaging like 40 yards per fumble. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, running backs, that left side of the offensive line, that's my helmet sticker. And that the announcer said it on the game, and like it's like, yeah, that left side of the line, they get doing whatever they want. And
Mhm.
then sure enough, handoff after handoff was to that left side. Um, so
Kind of in that realm, I got a question for you, Ben. Do you so we Sark is known for having 1,000 yard rushers. Right now, most we have, I think, is Wisner. I think he's like at 458, 490, something like that, right? He's between 450 and 500. So if if I think I was looking at it last night, I think that's what he has. If we were to go all the way to championship game, and I'm talking about CFP championship game, that's 5, 6 more games down the road, and he gets to 1,000 yards between now and then. Do we okay? He's got 626. So the stat I saw last night didn't include his game from last night. So he's not going to get it next game. He's not going to get it if they make it to the SEC championship in those 2 games. But they play a couple of games and he's able to get to it with the postseason. Do we give Sark the okay on this one for the 1,000 yard rusher?
um, I mean, I feel like he needs to be 1,000 yards in the regular season
Season?
to
Okay.
qualify.
Yeah.
Um, I always get a little. I don't really count these postseason game stats. Just like, you should count an SEC championship game loss against a team for the playoff contention. I guess for stats, it keeps counting. But I, I'm when I look at that stat, I'm thinking regular season.
Okay.
So
So we need 375 yards. Come on, Quinn.
we
Trey.
need, yeah, 12 games, 1,000 yards
Okay.
is doable in college football. And if you have a true number one running back, you should look at Ashton Genty. He's got 2,000 yards.
Right.
Um, so
And hell, when Brooks went down last year, he went down in the ninth game and he had 1,000 yards at that
yeah,
point.
so it's got to be regular season only
Yeah.
for that to qualify, in my opinion.
No,
Yeah,
that's
it
fine.
could, like you said, it could happen if we keep winning and keep advancing in this playoff series. I could see it happening, and Sark, it'll be probably added to his stat line, but
Mhm.
for me, it doesn't count.
Roger
Yep.
Maris, Roger Maris, famously broke Babe Ruth's home run record in the year, right? In a single season. And that
Yep.
was the year that or one of the years that they had extended the season to 162 games, whereas Babe Ruth only played 154.
Yep.
Roger Maris had an asterisk on that home run record for a long time, like 30 years or something like that, before they took it away and said there was only going to be one record kept. So if you're going to put an asterisk on that, you got to do it on this because it only counts. It only counts if you play the same amount of games, right?
So we only need 375 yards next week, Trey. Make it happen.
Williams
I
will let you.
break Barry Sanders' record. What's Barry's single game record? It's probably three something.
Yeah, I can see
It could
that.
happen.
Yep.
Actually, I don't see it. Well, A&M's defense. I mean, they gave up what 38 and or 30, at least 31 in four quarters to Auburn.
Mhm.
Not good.
So what do you guys like? What like three things that you're worried about going into this week that we need to clean up in practice?
Well, we could use it as a tease for our
Yeah,
next
Yep.
episode, but
yeah. That'll be our next episode. So
Fumbles,
41st. What?
fumbles,
Yeah.
cleaning up the third quarter, right? We left the team in there. Special teams.
boom.
All right, guys. 41st Acre out, unfiltered, a little biased, 100% truthful. Preview A&M game next.